Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When it comes to home and auto insurance, it's important to have the right coverage from a company and an agent you can trust. Someone who will help you properly protect the people and things you love most. So if the unexpected happens, you and your family can rest insured. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. How's Matt today?
It's good, doing good. We have a really awesome guest today, a ag celebrity, if you will, here in Kentucky.
Mr. Agriculture.
Mr. Agriculture, many people call him that. I think if you're in the industry in just any way, indirect, I'm like just a video guy in the business, you know him. I don't think anybody, you can't, if you're working in ag, you don't know Warren. I don't think you really work in ag in some way. So really excited for him today.
Yeah, he's awesome. We gig him a lot. And you'll hear that in the podcast. I grew up with his kids. My sister's first two show pigs, Dottie and Spotty, were purchased at a Beeler Hog Farm sale. Don't remember. I was running around with his other two kids, but we go way back. But it is funny. We had him and Tim Thornberry talking right outside the door. I don't think there is anyone more beloved by random people in this state than those two guys.
Right.
I mean, they are a hoot listening to them tell stories together.
Uh-huh. So yeah, I'm excited. This is gonna be a good one.
Yep. So without further ado, I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
And this is Between the Rows. All right. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. We're having a busy day here in the studio. We're doing a couple podcasts today, and we have a great guest who has joined us this morning, and we appreciate you coming in.
You're pretty loose with the words there, my friend.
Well, thank you for being here. We know that you're known in the state. You're a very known guy in agriculture in Kentucky, but we really just wanted to kind of reel back and rewind and kind of get to know kind of your path. How'd you get in agriculture and maybe some stories, maybe somebody people don't know?
Hey, you may not have enough time for all that. I am from a little town of Caneyville, Grayson County, and raised on a dairy farm. My dad milked for 41 years, and I remember getting up before I go to school and feeding 20-some bucket calves, and didn't any of them have an ear tag in their ear, and the buckets got bruised a little by beating some of them off to get to the others, but then I'd start the milking, then I'd go take a shower and go to school. I thought it was, but today it'd be child abuse. I am very thankful that I was raised up with a family that taught me how to work, taught me the value of family. I mean, some of those things are just so valuable. Caneyville at that time was first grade all the way, didn't have kindergarten, first grade all the way through high school. I stayed there 2 years after I graduated in 1973. They consolidated, and so we, I went to Western.
Go Tops.
And go Tops big time, yeah. and then got over there and got really interested in animal science. I had a great mentor, one of the best teachers I've ever had, Dr. Gordon Jones. I mean, he just gives you the passion. Mm-hmm. And I think my ag teacher in high school, did a lot of that too. But I think teachers are the most important people in the world, and parents being one. And secondly, those teachers that just absolutely have the passion, you just can't help but get it with them. Mm-hmm. And it's contagious. And so I got out of Western, first job I got, interviewed for the American Yorkshire Club. Dairy farmer coming off home, beef cattle basically. When I was in college, worked for Pioneer Seed Corn Company and running a bull testing station. And then the first job, Dr. Jones gave me a 2-hour crash course on swine, and I didn't get any of it. Luckily, Glenn Knatzer, who interviewed me, and there was 60 applicants, I think, and I had no hog background at all. He didn't ask me a single hog question. He asked me about family, and I could answer those questions, and that was really good. I took off there. It was in the Southwest. We were working 200 sales a year. We were driving 100,000 miles a year, flying 2 or 3 times a month. Got home 15 nights a year, never over one night in a row. Spent one night in a Christmas and a Holiday Inn because a guy scheduled the sale. But, man, you talk about learning. Mm-hmm. I just made 5 farm visits a day and wash my clothes on Sunday and go do it again. And I mean, it was a perfect job for a guy right out of college. And then the Hampshire people called me and hired me over there back in the Southeast. And those guys were the ones really were tremendous thinkers about breeding livestock. You know, how do you breed strength to strength, trait to trait? How do you make animals predictable for your customers? Those kind of things. And I did that for 2 or 3 more years. And then Dr. Brown at Western called me, and they just built a new expo center at the farm, and he wanted me to run that. So I came back and ran that thing, and it was about a year, that deal. And I had this young lady working for me back on the farm that was 5'9", just absolutely gorgeous, you know. I had to go back there and get her tractor off of a guy wire one day where she drove it up City Girl. And basically after a year of that, Hampshire called me back, and they wanted to start the first junior association in the swine industry. And that was very appealing to me because I eat, sleep junior livestock. That's just my thing. And so I went back, and at fall, I started dating Dee Dee, and spring we got married. I took her out of that Brownsboro road up here, you know, out Hunting Creek subdivision, right there by the golf course. I took her and put her at the end of a dirt road in Caneyville. my dad was telling people, she won't last 6 weeks. 42 years, 5 kids, 2 grandkids. I woo her with my ways. But that junior thing lasted about 3 years. It was wonderful. We had 1,100 kids in 35 states, and the money ran out. And I bought a farm in 1980. I want a farm. I love farming. That's my thing. I love agriculture. Everything about it. I love being around it, learning about it. Came home and started farming, and did that for almost 20 years until it got so bad in December of 98. I had 1,200 sows located over 3 farms. Hogs got to 10 cents. Break even was 35. And my wife said, you got to get a real job. She's always right. And I called Billy Ray Smith, who was commissioner of ag. I said, I need a job. And I was embarrassed. I was ashamed at 43 to start over. But looking back after 25 years, best thing that could have happened to me, you know. So I went there, and 16 or 17 years, I just gradually moved up the ladder until Jamie Comer came in and just turned me loose and let me work. And I'm very appreciative of Congressman Comer now. And then when Governor Bevin came in, he called, and I go over to the governor's office of ag policy over the tobacco settlement money. And I will tell you that was the best job in the world. I'm telling you, absolutely. You want to see agriculture like nobody else in the world gets to see it, have a pot of money and just have them come to you. And I did. I just absolutely just absorbed that thing. Hired Renee. I thank goodness there was a big tall boy down in Washington County that she liked better than me. And so I hired her back and I had a bunch of young people that just had the same passion that I had, and we got lots done. We got lots done. That money is amazing. $800 million invested. It's made agriculture better, bigger and better, you know. And so I did that during Bevin's administration, and about 8 months under Governor Beshear. And I figured that, you know, with politics the way it is, I was going to get a gate the first day, but I lasted 8 or 9 months, and that was good. I got to see 2 different administrations, and then basically I got to go home and watch my cows eat, and I was just as happy as I could be. And because I am a livestock person, I just absolutely love that. And so when I went home, then I was all about. I am so passionate about having a commissioner of agriculture that's proud to be commissioner. And we've had several in a row, you know, that are. And Jonathan Schell came to me and wanted me to be his campaign chairman. I know nothing about being a campaign chairman. But being, like you say, I'm an old guy that knows a lot of people, or they know me, you know. And so I said, yeah, because he's the one that really is total effort. He's total effort. He doesn't wait for things to come to him. He goes and gets it. And that's what you have to do in agriculture. You think they're going to walk through the door every day. You're kidding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back. I had no intention going back to work up there. I was happy watching my cows eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got down the transition, we needed some agriculture. And that's all I am. I'm just an agriculture guy. So I came back as his deputy commissioner to be kind of his sub. I go out and I give presentations, and the deal. I'm kind of the old ag guy in the room to keep him out of the ditch. I don't want to slow him down. I just want to keep him going. He's really terrific. So sorry about the long story,
no,
but
great.
I've had lots of jobs.
Uh-huh.
Too many, really. Too many. So it's wonderful.
Well, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to give you credit. I think Dee Dee Beeler got me back to Kentucky because if I do recall, Miss Dee Dee told me that Warren said, I can't take her from money and industry. I just can't let her come up here and interview. It's not good for her. And she said, that's not your decision. If she wants to interview, she can interview. So as soon as I saw her after I got the job, I gave her a hug and said, thank you for getting me back.
Dee Dee Beeler is about the smartest person I know. I'm going to be honest with you. It's really neat. How life can do that. And I mean, I knew her since she was a baby. Actually, I had a little job back when I was working to start the on-farm testing program. And when I gave that up, her dad, Kevin Laurent, came in and started doing that. And so my kids and Renee's siblings grew up together. Mm-hmm. And you talk about a great place to have friends. That was he sent them off to college, and Molly and Celeste were roommates, and that's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah. I'd say the first time I interacted with you, I actually went to an Eiffel, and it was, I think, maybe in Murray or something like that. And I'm a city kid. I grew up in Louisville, and here I am working for an ag organization suddenly, and I'm learning, as I'm going, kind of. And so I went to an Eiffel, and you spoke in front of the group, and the passion coming out of this guy, I was like, this guy is awesome, And so I asked him, like, oh, yeah, that's Warren. Everybody was like, yeah, that's it, And so that was the first time I ever had seen you or had to interact with you anyway. And I was like, this guy's really neat. But we see you everywhere. You're the caller at the ham breakfast. You're just kind of everywhere. Huh?
I have turned in a few $1 million bids. I went so fast this year that I couldn't get him out of Coach Polk fast enough. He's beating for Luther. But I appreciate your comment. I love agriculture. Mm-hmm. I love learning about it. I'm so starved about trying to figure out what we don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fun part of agriculture. My dad milked cows by hand. And before he passed, I took him over to Cheney's and let him see cows being milked with a robot, cows milking themselves. I told people I had to put his tongue back to his mouth. He just couldn't believe he didn't have to go to the barn to milk cows. And then, he was raised up following a team of mules. Mm-hmm. And now we got tractors driving themselves. What will these young people see in the next 50 years? And I think that's the biggest issue, man, is that we have to attract people. How do we attract really smart people to agriculture to figure out the new technology? We're going to replace labor with technology. Mm-hmm. We were in a bacon plant in Bowling Green the other day, Tyson bacon plant. Not a meat processing plant with not a knife in anybody's hand. All machines. Pork belly goes in one end, bacon comes out the other end. It's on a white sheet of paper, it goes off. On a black sheet of paper, which was very seldom, I raked it off in this tray. I said, what do you do with that? Bacon bits. Don't waste it. Even the boxes were being stacked with vacuum robots.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The forklifts were autonomous.
Yeah.
No drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Stick your foot out, stop. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is where we're headed. I mean, the exciting thing about agriculture is what we don't know yet.
Right.
That's it. We had a guy walk in. I'm going on. I'm sorry, but guy walk in and he was from Germany. He had a PhD from MIT. He had this product called Artemisia. You remember? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And and it was the only medication for malaria in the world. And so they were raising it in Vietnam, but they came to Kentucky because you raised it like tobacco. And I said, well, we don't have malaria. He said, it's not about malaria. He said, in other countries, they use Artemisia to treat cancer like we use chemo, except you don't lose your hair. You don't have all the side effects. You know and I know, somewhere, some plant, some animal, something, some weed there's a cure, or in some person, there's a cure for cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think, how do we attract really smart people? I tell people all the time, my son Ben got all his mother's genetics. He has a PhD in nuclear and radiological engineering from Georgia Tech.
No idea what that does.
Hey, yeah, I don't either. He's told me, but I still don't know.
Right.
And I tell people, what a waste. I'm proud of him. I love him to death. He's brilliant. But just think what he could have done for agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of people we need to attract to build this new technology. And it's just off the charts. I'm just so excited about what can be for agriculture.
Well, we talk about the youth side, and I'm probably jumping back, but it's so interesting to me because I have known you since I can ever remember. My older brother and Abby are the same age. So it's just funny. Celeste and Molly room together. There's so many of those things. And I guess in my head, everyone should know you guys from Raising Hogs. Celeste got her first pigs from you guys. We were at all the pork producers events together. But there is a whole group of kids that never showed livestock that were livestock judgers. And you and Terry Burks were doing those clinics. So there's a whole generation that knows you guys from the teaching aspect. On the national swine side, a lot of those kids know you from all of your work in the field at different times because it's people you were there. It's their kids and their grandkids. But now you've kind of hit another realm of teaching with being at Western doing some of your adjunct professor work over there. So tell a little bit about that. So, you have done teaching really at every stage of your life. How is it different? How's it been fun? What do you think?
I really like it. I do. I just think, again, I think teachers are the most important people in the world. Parents and kindergarten teachers, first grade, all the way up. And what I did, I'm an animal science person, and I see us where Terry and I put a clinic on. We had 250 kids at that clinic from 10 states. People were starved to learn about this thing. We're not doing it enough. That's the thing. Well, I fussed at all the universities about us not teaching live animal elevation. Basically, what we're talking about is price per pound on most of it's what they look like. How do you keep replacements? How do you buy a bull and physically fit the market or fit the environment? And so I fussed at all of them, and Western calls me and said, well, would you teach it? And so that was a time when I was home watching my cows eat. And so, yeah, and I have had the best time. Smart kids, but not a lot of kids with a lot of background in my class. Teach everything from dairy, all species, and not only the genetic part of it, from an EPD or ratios, indexes standpoint, but all the way to market news. Mm-hmm. How do you understand the market news deal? So I want them to come out of there and sound like a livestock person. Our final, Renee, you'd love this, Matt. You guys, I'd never teach a class that they didn't have to get up and give a presentation orally. I just think that's the most profitable talent you can give a young person is get up and be persuasive and convincing. I give them like 4 scenarios, 4 different farm situations. I give them 6 bulls. They got to match the bull to the scenario and come in and sell him to me. It's neat.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is neat, and it helps me to know. And Terry Burke's sitting right beside me. He's the best livestock judge in the country. I talked to him last night. He's headed to West Virginia this week, in California over the next week, but he's going to teach the sheep and goats while I'm going to the North American. So it's really neat. But a lot of the kids I got are really smart. I got 20 students this time, 19 girls, 1 boy, and that is kind of been the way it is. But they're brilliantly smart, and that makes it really, really fun for me. I want them to know everything I know, and I'm old, so I've listened to a whole lot over the years. But how do you get them excited about agriculture? That's the thing, and that's why I'm there. That's why I'm there. Why I do any clinics and anything. I still enjoy the judging, Renee. I've done it for 48 years, 43 states, and it's my fishing and hunting and golf, and I don't do any of those things. I judge those junior livestock shows for fun. And I don't think you can do enough. The teaching thing is so critical for us. And I think the same person was a teacher that gave me the passion. To a couple of them. Can I do that? Mm-hmm. Can I do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so funny you talk about judging. So obviously I judged my entire life. My dad was our judging coach in Caldwell County, and that was Celeste, my oldest sister, that kind of helped build that program when she was interested, and he took the reins. And I'm very, very blessed to be able to do a lot of that stuff. But it's so funny when you see it real world. We decided to not go Angus this year, and we're going with the Simmental bull. And so my father-in-law said, well, if it's y'all's idea, you and your husband, you guys can go pick the bull. And so we go, and it's this guy's got 4 bulls for us to look at. He hands us the papers with the EPDs, and he starts talking to us for a minute. Well, I know the scenario because it's our farm.
Right.
And so my husband, looks at him with the guy that was with us, and then the farmer walks away. I was talking to him. I know we're shocked. I was talking to the farmer. But anyway, so he walks away, and I hand him I said, this is them in order. And he says, how do you have them in order? And I said, honey, you just gave me a judging class. And he said, oh, my gosh. And I said, I can tell you the good and the bad, every one of them in order, or you can just trust me, and that's them in order. And it was so funny. We left, and he said, I had never, no part of him. He didn't grow up doing livestock judging, but he said that was so funny. You literally walked in real world and judged a class, and there was no competition. There was none of that. Now we got to have a return on this investment. We brought him home, and we're going to breed cows. But it was the most kind of full circle moment where I'm like, all these years, and anyone that thinks doing oral reasons at these judging contests has gotten too fluffy or too this or too that. I didn't need oral reasons. I handed them to him, and I knew practically what needed to come home. And I give that accolade not to my knowledge, but to all the people that have taught me for 30 years. So it was just a cool full circle moment I knew you would appreciate.
Oh, and I went over to buy a bull from Kenneth Lowe. I got my cattle from Kenneth Lowe, and my daughter Molly and her husband Luke were over there. And by the time I got there, Molly said, well, that's the bull I like. And she had picked out visually the best bull. And all I did was look at the figures and seen that he was good enough. That was the thing. But there is nothing better in this world than making a decision and defending it orally. That's training to be the boss someday. And that's what being on livestock judging or meats judging or horse judging or any kind of judging deal is. We just have to emphasize it as being very valuable like that, because when you look at the people who are in leadership have been through those kind of things around this state, around the country, So, that's exactly what you did is exactly what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
How do you go to the barn and make a decision? How do you go to the barn and tell yourself the truth? That's the hardest part, And Renee do that. She got an old cow up there that needs to go and just likes her a little too good. Everybody does. Everybody does, So it's neat. That part of it, being evaluating the EPDs and genetics and put it with the visual, because not always the one with the great figures are one that's visually good enough to fit the marketplace.
Right.
So balancing the two is everything. And I just eat it, sleep it. My fall class is we do a keep cull. We got eight ewes with their babies. We give them all the data. We tell them how many times, if they had to be sheared, if they had foot trouble, if they had to be wormed, all the things that go with that. And you make a decision. You keep 4, cull 4, but I want to know in what order you kept. And you got to come in and verbally tell me. I like it.
Yeah.
I do like it.
Yeah. Well, speaking, I feel like you're probably one of these folks in Kentucky agriculture I guess everyone's an advocate, but you're kind of an unintentional advocate through all these years of just all the different things positions you've been put in.
Yeah. No, I'm intentional. I'm really intentional. I absolutely want to tell people about agriculture. We got such a disconnect. Grandma, Grandpa's the only one knows anymore. And so how do we reconnect? The local food thing is made a huge difference in terms of being able to. But I'm talking, they have no idea what we do. When they think we're still farming behind a set of mules with tobacco juice running down, and we still got some of those folks. But I'm going to tell you, it's applied science technology is what agriculture is, and it's off the charts what it's going to be. And when you go into a civic club or somebody like I do, and you tell them they're paralyzed. They tell them that we're raising chickens in this barn. They think we're mistreating the chickens. And then once I tell them that we got a 4-pound bird in 32 days with a feed efficiency of 1.4, they eat 1 pound and 4/10 and they gain 1 pound. I tell them I thought I was the only one in the world that could do that. So chickens do it every day. And you think about it, now we're up to some 6-pound birds in 43 days, feed conversion around 1.7. That's perfect genetics. That's perfect environment. That's perfect nutrition. That's science. That's science working for us.
Right.
And so they have no idea. They heard somebody say, put them in confinement. That's when we started taking care of them. That's when we controlled the environment. So yeah, I'm an intentional advocate. I absolutely positively want to tell people about it. And I think once they hear, it's so different to them now. There's such a disconnect that they're just paralyzed by what we've got going.
Yeah, in most cases, people are. They're really just super interested in it. It changes the perspective really quick, and just more folks being intentional probably is really the key.
When I was growing up, agritourism, they would have giggled at you. I mean, everybody lived on a farm, Now, I mean, gosh, you talk about big time business, and those folks, those agritourism sites, have been great advocates for what we do. I took my class to Cheney's the other day. I don't think any of them had ever seen a cow being milked with a robot. Matter of fact, about half of them never seen a cow milked at all. And we go down there, and I remember Mr. Cheney. I used to go sit in his trailer, and he was such a brilliant man, thinker. I mean, a thinker, and recognized internationally. And he had this book where he had all the prices of milk, and it hadn't gone up fast enough, to be honest with you. But we sat and talked to him. He milked cows by hand, and now they've got people piling through Cheney's down there, watching that robot. And it's cows are getting milk 3 times a day. Some of them as many as 5 times a day, but on average, a little over 3. They're giving more milk, anywhere 15 to 25% more milk. It even tells you when the cow's running a temperature, measure the temperature of the milk, send you a text. I mean, we know she's sick before this is science. It's off the charts what's out there. But those kids were paralyzed. That and they do. Cow's got a temperature, something's wrong. It kicks the milk out. I mean, it's just, where are we headed? That's such a fun part of it. Where are we headed?
Right.
Well, speaking about where we're headed and talking about where we've been, you have such a unique perspective in the sense that Billy Ray is known for being one of these very monumental thinkers. A lot of big programs that are what they are today were started during his administration, being Commissioner of Agriculture, and then truly continued and carried on by the next ones. And you've worked for quite a few. What do you see that's the same as since back then? And what do you see that's just gone even further than you'd ever thought when you were in those roles in those early years?
At the Department of Ag?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that Billy Ray started that is huge is Kentucky Proud.
Yep.
I mean, it kind of coincided with the tobacco settlement money, and that's what it is. But that thing has gotten huge. It's very recognized, whether you're in Louisville or whether you're in Fulton or somewhere. The interesting thing about it is, this thing I preach every day, is that how do we make it new again? How do we take the money we're getting and incentivize folks to be a part of that thing? I mean, that is what it's all about. I mean, we've got POP grants where we help with advertising, labeling. We got Buy Local where we help with restaurants to afford food that's probably a little more expensive, that kind of thing. We're even talking about possibility of an Amazon store for Kentucky Proud. Do we have anybody that can play that fast? That's the question, in that deal. But what we've seen is tremendous turnover. As dark tobacco took a beating last year, we've had several green bean deal down at processing plant down there. So it's neat. I mean, the Department of Ag, I got to be at this new role with some other commissioners of Ag, and we're unique, and it's because of tobacco money. We have a service side to our department where most departments are regulatory. And we're probably 75% regulatory. I mean, when you check the gas pumps or scales or any of those kind of things, pesticides, all that stuff, that's a big part of the Department of Ag is consumer safety. But we got people that are working on, like a market news group. We got the biggest market news group probably around the country because we got 10 reporters covering 3 sales a week each week and reporting that market. You hear the livestock and grain market doesn't fall out of the sky. You got people doing that. And that, of our website, the one that's hit the most is market news. It's market news. But we got an aquaculture person. We've got a person that basically do farmers market person, that works closely with Farm Bureau. And so there's tons of things. But that's the unique part of Kentucky's Department of Ag is the service, the marketing, Office of Marketing, which a lot of them, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio didn't have such a thing, at least not in any capacity at all. So I don't know. I hope nothing stays the same. I want it to get better. I tell them we want to do anything with a person we hadn't done anything with, or anything new with a person we've been doing things with, and that's what really makes probably the best pay you get in working the state government. I know we pull up in the drive and say we're here from the government, we're here to help you, but we are.
Yeah.
I mean that's when you're so satisfied when you can help somebody some way, and that could be anything. We got a group that came in from New England just recently on digesters. We see just an influx of digesters where we're taking methane gas off the Purdue deal and turning it into natural gas that they run into digester with, and the 20% of the plant. We got one moving into Hickman and Fulton, running the truck, hog manure to it, buy corn stalks and sawdust, generate natural gas deal, and a food, basically a fertilizer type supplement out of the other side. I mean, it's just intriguing. Keeneland shows up the other day. They want to take their horse muck and pelletize it, run through a boiler, and develop biochar. Biochar doesn't have a whole lot of nutrient value in it, but when you put it in the ground, you're basically getting rid of carbon, and basically you're helping water holding capacity. So gosh, you guys need to sit where I sit and watch agriculture. It is so fun, and so interesting. Guy comes in 2 days ago, wants to build a plant in Cynthia. He's found a building. Black soldier fly larvae for fish, and for pets, and for 33%, Renee, 33% protein. That's almost like bean meal, Brought a bag. Now the problem with that bag is about a 10-pound bag costs about $10. So there's real value in it. And so, gosh, I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just there's no end to what we don't know.
Again, when I first saw him, this is what
you felt.
This is what I was like. This guy, energy. He's great. Yeah.
Well, and I'm so glad you said that about the Department of Ag. I do think when you say you don't understand how blessed we are in Kentucky, people say, "Oh, you're just trying to make me feel better," or "Oh, you just don't want to hear me complain." That's not the case. I think when you leave and you gain perspective of what Kentucky truly has, one, it makes you love Kentucky more, but two, it makes you bring back perspective and you have an initiative to do even more. It's not that I'm saying, oh, you don't know how blessed we are to still have an extension office in every county. You don't know how blessed we are to have the services and the Kentucky Proud brand we have. The brand recognition of 80%, I don't think people, until you talk to a marketing person in another industry and their eyes get big and they say, no, you don't have the right numbers. There's no way. We're like, no, that's what our research tells us. You don't understand the impact that some of the things we have in Kentucky are. And when you know that from these outside perspectives, you're able to push yourself that much more. It gives you this renewed sense of like, we can even do more. How blessed are we? Let's keep it going. I don't think it's a stop the complaint. It's no, we're doing really well. Now let's shove it that much further.
Well, and I think what's a little bit unique for us is that we're all on the same page. Farm Bureau, we don't make decisions without Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau, their policy, the way they develop policy is exactly the way it's got to be done from the farm upward, like that. And then basically when you get over in here, Extension and Department of Ag, a lot of places they don't talk to each other. I mean, we're on the same page. We won't fund something if Extension doesn't support it. I mean, that's just the way this thing is. So we are blessed, and I think we take it for granted because, I mean, nobody who's out there running around seeing what anybody else is doing.
Right.
I mean, you're just caught in this situation. Extension is the backbone for that's where we meet. That's how we make progress. That's how we convert this theoretical research that they're doing somewhere into something that you can tell a farmer and apply it. That's a thing. And the extension offices where we meet. I'm going to talk to 4-H, Howard County 4-H tonight at 6:00. You talk about getting excited. You talk about young people, and then Ken Beeler get him passionate about ag. He'll do it. He'll try his best. I promise you on that. But I mean, you're right. We take things for granted that we just are so lucky to have in this state. It's neat.
Well, and I'm going to ask you, and you've seen this, and we worked a lot on this when I was at Ag Development Board. We have a great relationship, and I'm blessed. We were able to have a couple people at Farm Bureau that me and myself and someone else that used to work over at state government were able to kind of mingle us together with the Energy and Environment Cabinet again. And so our leadership meets with them quarterly. I know Commissioner Shell has a good relationship. We had a great relationship in the past when we were at Ag Development. The environmental side, talk a little bit about how important it is. We talk about all these people we work together with. I don't think we talk about enough how important it is that we get a seat in the room with environmental policy, environmental regulation, just environmental compliance, so we can better explain to our producers and back and forth. Explain kind of some of that relationship you've seen over the years and how important that is today.
When I went to governor's office, I was so mesmerized by the job that I should have been running over to economic development first day. I should have been running to the energy cabinet first day. I did finally. I had great relationships, and it is this situation is all about relationships. When the digester people came in the other day, I went to the energy cabinet with them, so they knew that agriculture was on the same page like that. We want those permits so we can get this project started. That thing. And again, I mean, we're really blessed. When I was farming years ago, we had a secretary who wanted to put us out of business, and so we developed what we call the Ag Water Quality Authority, which is basically the buffer between EPA and the farm. It's not to get by with anything. It's to have common sense in terms of regulation and that kind of thing. All the best management practices. We've never done agriculture so good in terms of being, environmentally friendly. They deal, but the problem is they don't nobody know it, and so by having people in this Ag Water Quality Authority at the Energy Cabinet, we've got some common sense playing in the game. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the relationship, and we're working really hard. We're going to have 6 or 7 meetings about agriculture as economic development, and basically it comes down to economic activity. Mm-hmm. I was telling the other day, Renee was there, one of our meetings, that I looked at my little old farm of 220 acres. I looked and seen how many businesses did I write a check to? 50. Now you tell me that when you get into big farming, that the economic development part is economic activity. Money turning over makes rural communities or urban communities really, really healthy, that kind of thing. Interesting enough, this one here, I hired her, and the one that is the economic development person for agriculture, which they've never had, Danielle Milburn, is also worked right side by side with her at GOAP. Mm-hmm. So, everything's a relationship. Everything's a relationship, and the quicker you get that built in, and they trust you, and back and forth. I went to the creek with Peter Goodman and Paulette Akers, two of the people that charged at that time. They went to the hog barn with me, and that's how you do it. Mm-hmm. That's how you build those relationships, and when you need something, they know you're not just barking up a tree, and you're trying to do something that and that's the thing. I mean, nothing wrong with permits. You got to do it right. We want to do it right. Agriculture is as environmentally friendly as it's ever been, and just going to get better. Mm-hmm. And so, how do we tell that, and how do we figure out the next step? With cover crops, with everything we're doing, we're just doing a great job. Nobody knows it but us,
right?
And I hate that. That's why I'm a full-time advocate.
Well, speaking of advocating, there's a little show coming up, just a little one. You're pretty involved, and you have been for quite a few years. I get the pleasure of being there. Farm Bureau lets me work at the North American, even though that's more family and fun for me than it is work. But we've got a North American coming up. Tell us about the North American, what's coming, how it's changed over the years. Just give us an overview.
Well, 51st year, and I don't think I've missed one since I've been there. I think when I was in college, we showing hogs at the show, and then I started in. I was the announcer for the swine show, and they always loved me because I always announced the football scores at the same time.
We cannot get Bryce to do it. I give him the scores every day, and he won't do it.
And then we had change of leadership there, and we had people nervous, and then they kind of drafted me in to be the general superintendent. And I've done that, I don't know how many years, almost 10, I guess, probably now. And it is the most intriguing thing. Largest purebred livestock show in the world. And I'm telling you, people who come, everyone that comes and shows live loses money. And they bring their buddies the next year.
Yep.
So whatever we're doing right. And Corinne Fetter's in there now, and she was before back with Harold Workman, and she's just absolutely amazing. I mean, you talk about a detailed organizational nightmare when you got 14 things going at the same time, and somebody wants a door up, and this. I mean, you just can't imagine getting them unloaded and loaded back out. 20-some thousand entries. It's neat. And I mean, I told my students, I said, I'll give you 50 points extra credit if you show up at the North American. And so I'm going to get passes right after this to get them in, because they're college kids, didn't get any money, Yeah. And but there's 20 kids that wouldn't have gone anyway.
Right.
And so that will go.
Expose them to that, yeah.
And so you go to that show, and you could see the best of the best. Tunis, in the sheep show. I mean, you're talking about a zillion breeds of sheep, and not just sheep, but good sheep. Cattle shows, dairy, the Jersey show. If you ever been to the Jersey Jug, they spotlight them, and they're perfect. These cows are near perfect, and I mean, it's you just can't help but be very proud that Harold and a few guys had the courage and basically the aggressive attitude to go to Chicago and bring that international here. And it is neat. Now we're getting ready to change some things at the fairgrounds, going to build a new building. And I sit on that construction committee. It's the most common sense of any government building I've ever been on. They're going to build a building, 350,000 square feet. That's bigger than the whole west side. Don't tear down a thing. As soon as they get it built, then they tear down the west side, the old side, and then rebuild it. Going to give us 300,000 more square feet to accommodate. Where we really need it? Farm Machinery Show. Where, I mean, it is the Cadillac. But North American's fun. I spend every day. My wife, a few years ago, she gave me a Fitbit, thinking that was going to make a difference, And so the first day I wore that thing, and I got a golf cart. I'm riding around the golf cart, part of the time, but you can't drive it in the building. So I called that night. I called her, and I said, I'm going to blow this thing up. She said, how many steps you got? You ain't going to blow it up. She said, how many steps you got? I said, 22,000. So every day at the North American is 22,000 to 30,000, 10 to 15 miles.
All over the place.
And that place will kill you, but my favorite comment, and the one I use every day, and you heard me a million times, man, we're glad you're here. Thank you for coming, And they appreciate it more than you can say. I seen a lady down in South Carolina the other day. I was judging a state fair. She said, hello, Mr. Beeler. I wasn't for sure who she was. She said, hello, Mr. Beeler. I said, well, hi, how are you? She said, you backed my trailer in at the North American. So that was, that's what you do. That's what you do. Got a great staff, people like Renee that just, are happy to have people there, proud to be there to work. And it's almost done with all, so many volunteers that just come and just, they know what to do, how to do. We got great crews, and you couldn't pull it off without it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the cool part about North American is the more you're outside of the show industry, the more you realize sometimes you got to tell them the other pieces that we assume they know. There are so many national contests happening at the North American, whether it's senior college livestock judging, 4-H livestock judging, hippopology, which is always fun to read on the back of a jacket and remind yourself what that even means. You will see so many kids doing so many national contests while they're there. Plus, that little thing called the North American Rodeo that happens multiple nights while you're there. If there's a huge shop area for you to, whether you're buying panels, very specific to small animals sometimes, you can buy your stuff for your cattle. If there is something specialized for livestock, apparel, leather goods, there's so many reasons to get to Louisville that couple weeks. And it goes longer than you think it is just because it's not on your Facebook. If you follow Beeler, it's on your Facebook every day. But if you just follow some swine girls, you may see it. You may only see it 3 days, but it goes a long time. And chances are, if you're at the fairgrounds, you'll see somebody Farm Bureau, because whether me, Fran, or Donovan, I think one of us is there almost every dang day helping volunteer on a crew just because we're passionate about what we're doing.
Sure. I mean, it's just a need. And you know what's intriguing is there's a glamour to our show that nobody else has, and that's the green shavings. And you go back to the history of the green shavings, and Harold wanted something to set us apart. You know, this was years and years ago, so they used this kind of an oil paint on the shavings there. But every time one of the pigs went to the bathroom, it washed it off, and so they had to go back and paint again. So they had to paint every night, and then they learned how to run through and blow them and paint them and deal. But I see people every day with a baggie,
still
picking up green shavings in the ring, putting them in. I said, we got a whole pile of them back. Don't pick them dirty ones, get the good ones. But it's a neat place, whether you want to shop. The rodeo, Wayne Knutson, Steve Kelly did amazing thing a few years ago when he was there running a deal. He invited the FFA kids in at $5 a piece. We didn't have anybody in the upper ring the first couple of nights. We set, and last few years we've sold out. They come once. That's the most entertaining thing about it. That's the one ticket I ask for is, can I get tickets from my family? As a result of, I don't take any pay. I'm volunteer like Renee. Well, my grandbabies, they absolutely love the rodeo. It's the cleanest, neatest, best entertainment you could ever take your family to. And Wayne Knutson, I'll never forget the first time it sold out. He made them put it back up on the front of gate 1 so he could go out there and get a picture. Rodeo sold out. And it's been sold out several times since then. Yeah. And so place is magical. It is really magical. And people, I was on another podcast deal, and they were saying they did a contest of which show they enjoyed going to the most. North American International Livestock Show was it. And
very cool.
Because it's just accommodating. I think that's a lot of it, And I preach every day, and with our group there, that the key to is getting them unloaded and checked in, and then everybody calms down. The place is big. The place is scary when you're coming from some far off place and you don't know. I'll never forget. One day I was driving around, this family backed up from Texas. It had 3 little bitty girls, and they drove all night long. And they backed up, they got their pins, and they had these little dorpers about this high, about 1.5 foot high, and they put them in cattle panels. And, they were tore up, tired and tore up. So I said, you just hang on. I went in there, and I got gates where they pulled gates out, and I put them inside those and got them situated, and they've been back ever since. And, that's what you do and that kind of thing. But a family like that drives all the way from Texas, that tells you the draw that we have here with the North American. It's so neat, so neat.
You want to talk about tear people up. You get Warren Beeler on a microphone. What is it? Saturday. Saturday's the good day. Sunday's a little football. Nobody, a little NFL. But now college football, he will get the Ohio guys tore up. And then right about the time Purdue guys think they're the biggest ag game in town, he reminds them they're losing. And then he'll get those Cajuns tore up.
The room's full of Buckeyes. It's a disease. They just eat up with it, And boy, if I can catch them behind, I'll make sure I announce that score.
Every other score might be announced once until the end, but by gosh, every score of an opponent against the Buckeyes, he's like, just a quick update. They're booing him. They're wagging hands.
They love me and I love them back. That's how it works. But I mean, that's part of it. I mean, it's part of the atmosphere. So much, I've judged shows forever. And judging is not what you see, but how you value what you see. But so much of judging is nothing about the animals. It's a kid show. And it's controlling the atmosphere. It's your tone. It's the way, you conduct yourself. That is so critical. We've got a group now starting, Renee, that's taking some of us old in the tooth judges and looking at mentoring younger judges. And so I think that's really neat, because we've let the animal get too big and the kid get too little. And to me, that's the success of the program is when we can make the kid bigger than the animal. That means we got to glorify showmanship. We got to glorify a skill-a-thon. We got to have sales talks and photography contests and stuff. You know, the Brandon, Braden Reed, our Burks with the Cattlemen's have done a great job with the junior cattlemen that way. All the junior nationals are that way. So we're even looking at the possibility of a Kentucky Proud Expo with nothing but Kentucky animals in the fall, maybe at the horse park. It's still under discussion. There's a meeting today, actually, that I'm going to miss because of you guys. But
worth it.
It's one of those deals where, you know, we're trying to figure out how to make the kid bigger than the animal in the project. And that makes good kids. That makes good kids. And that's really what this thing's all about. When you think it's about animals, you're kidding yourself. You know, we just got the animals there to get the kids there.
Right.
And that's...
well, I relate this so much. Matt's got kids that are in sports, and I relate this so much to sports. It's not about how good your son is at baseball. You've told me that before. It's about how he handles loss, or it's about how he handles conflict.
Right.
It's the same thing, and I think that's really important. You got a daughter in cheerleading in college now. I mean, that's a whole new ball game. So very similar. It's just the rural kids travel ball.
I talk about it all the time, you know, and I use my judging analogies as kind of deal. I was judging at Houston, and 4,286 hogs. You hear me? I looked at 2,800 the first day I laid down that night. They would still come, and I couldn't judge them all. But only 660. We were sifting them at Brenham, Texas, and only 660 got to go to Houston. And so I got down to 4 kids left. You know, first day, keep go. I got 4 kids, 2 got to go, 2 didn't. I picked this little girl. She jumps about this high. She comes over to hug me. And karate chops me right in the throat. You know, I remember how excited she was. She didn't win Houston, Matt. She just got to go to Houston.
Oh, yeah.
And that part of it. Then I picked this big old boy, about 6'4", and I hunkered down. He comes and hugs me, and, you know, same excitement. You know what I don't remember? The other 2 kids. The other 2 kids that got that close and got put on the truck. They're the ones that really had the discipline, the character, the integrity to not act up. They the ones that got the lesson that day. They the ones that handled disappointment. In a day when everybody gets a trophy, that just wears me out.
Yeah.
There's no education without winning and losing teaches way more than winning.
Oh, you bet.
And handling losing is huge because you know life's going to knock you down. You got to get back up. That's just part of it. And if you can't learn from losing, you just keep making the same mistakes. You're not going to get very far.
Right.
That's just it. You know, I preach excitement and passion. I preach effort. I was judging in Jackson, Mississippi. Little Down syndrome, the showmanship. Not how good the hog is, but how good the kid showed. And little Down syndrome girl came in and she's winning. And I'm old school. I can love you to death and beat you like a dog. You know, I just can't help it. Good's good and bad's bad. I kept waiting on these other kids to come on and beat her. They didn't. When I picked her, the crowd jumps up and screams like I've never heard any crowd scream. And then I turned and looked, and here come her dad running across the ring, tears coming down his face. It still gets me to this day. You know, I thought how hard that little girl, Down syndrome girl, and that daddy have to work to stay on task long enough to win showmanship. Success is earned. It's what you do when you don't have to do anything that sets people apart. And you give me somebody that's got passion and a work, get out of their way.
Right.
Get out of their way.
Yeah, it's impactful. I was talking to a high school group just the other day, and we talked about work ethic. And one of my biggest things I'm telling kids right now is work ethic is not just how hard you work on a task, but it's anticipating the next move, kind of taking those blinders off and looking around you and seeing what's next. And I always bring up how often, you know, I have 4 people that are now accountable to me. If they needed a checklist every day, we'd never get anything done. I'm not here every day. And so I think work ethic is not as lost of an art as we think it is. I think you just got to look for those kids and realize they're out there, but it's that anticipation. It's that looking for the next step. Where's the next move? And I think that's something that if you don't tell them that or you don't teach that, it's not fair to expect it. And so that's something I've been pushing a lot in these high school classes I've been a chance to get into.
I'm telling you, Renee, when work is fun, work's not hard.
Right.
I mean, it's easy, it's exciting, and it is. It's everything you do when you don't have to. I mean, that's when I was hiring people at the governor's office. First question was, you ever been 4-H or FFA? I wanted to know, that kind of thing. And second is, I never looked at their grades. I was scared to death of a 4.0 that'd been in the classroom, never looked out. What have you done besides go to class?
Right.
Are you willing to share are you selfless enough to willing to share yourself with clubs? Are you willing to take on leadership roles with those clubs? I want to know, what have you done besides what you had to do?
Right.
And that I think sets people apart. That's that work ethic thing. That's that, and that selflessness. We to this day and time, we think we don't have any, but there's tons of it out there. There's people who just do and do and do for causes bigger than themselves, and I'd love that. I think that's really what makes the world go round. That's the great example for the next generation, when you do things when you don't have to.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. Warren, we can't thank you enough. We have spent so much of your time today missing a big meeting, which we just found out. But we appreciate what you do, and it's so funny you say how much we talk. I was talking to Commissioner Shell, Jonathan, and that's the best part, too. These people don't have titles anymore. They're just people. They're friends. They're farmers. I was talking to Jonathan just yesterday, catching up on a few things we've been working on. And so it is a lot of wise people told me a long time ago, it's all about relationships. And my husband thinks all I do is drive and talk, but I can just tell him. I sat across from somebody else that just drives and talks, and he seems to be doing okay. So I'm going to have to tell him. I
made a living out of that, and I do. I'm so proud of Jonathan. He is just, you talk about effort. He's just continuous effort, and so positive. I mean, in terms of, people who think they can, and negatives contagious as the Dickens, but positive is too.
Yep. And
so he's come in the department and just got the folks excited, and they're working hard and doing things. And I'm very proud of him. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be there. I'm old. I could be home, watch my cows eat. So, but he's neat, and he's going to be great leadership for agriculture. I'm anxious to see over the next few years exactly how much he can get done, we can get done in terms of helping. I mean, just, the best pay, I'm telling you, the best pay working for government is when you can help somebody, when you can change something. That's when it's really, really wonderful. Mm-hmm. And one more story, and I'll hush. When people think you work for the government, when I particularly the governor's office, I was speaking in Bullitt County. Mm-hmm. Lady come up to me and she said, "Mr. Beeler," she said, "I know this is not your deal," but she said, "We are getting ready to open our swimming pool. We can't get it inspected." So I said, so I called the office. I said, "Who inspects swimming pools?" And they gave me a number. And so I called and I said, "This is Warren Beeler with the governor's flag policy." They were inspected that afternoon. and I still have a good feeling about that. I helped that lady. And I got the pool open for the kids, and that kind of thing. And somebody was sitting there not doing what they need to be doing. Yeah. If they could inspect it that afternoon, I know it could have been inspected the day before. Yeah. That's the thing. But it's fun to be back. It's fun to be back. I miss the people. I miss the projects. Mm-hmm. I don't miss the politics or the pressures or all that kind of stuff. But it is really fun to sit there and or go around and watch and see what's happening in agriculture. It's all the things we don't know yet that make it so exciting. That's why we've got to figure out a way to make people passionate about wanting to be part of our team, and that includes Farm Bureau. That includes all of us. I'm telling you, people make things go, and people make things not go. Mm-hmm. The really success is people, mm-hmm. and that's what it comes down to.
Well, we appreciate your passion and your efforts, and so really appreciate you coming. Hanging out with us.
Anytime I can talk about agriculture, I'm for it.
I'm sure we'll have you back. We'll have you back
for
sure.
Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
You bet.
Well, thanks, Warren. And thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe to our larger podcast, Kentucky Farm Life. And we'll see you next time on Between the Rows.